What's going on? Just wanted to kind of just reintroduce myself to everybody on my channel. I have a lot of new subscribers. Thank you for subscribing. I have a lot of new followers on Instagram and on Facebook. So I just wanted to reintroduce myself to the channel just because you guys don't know me. So I just want you to pretty much, take a step into my world. If you've looked at any of my previous videos, you know that I am currently pregnant and I am embarking on motherhood alone. My choice. So, just a little bit about myself. I'm 39, from Philly, born and raised, work as a correctional sergeant at a prison, maximum level 5, 4,000 male inmates, death row. It's a little tough. However, I love it and wouldn't give it up for the world. I also had weight loss surgery I just said 6 years. 6 years ago. So I have the sleeve. So that's also something I want to talk about, being as though I am pregnant, because I'm definitely noticing that I have the surgery while being pregnant. So I'm also going to touch on in this video a conversation actually I just had with a friend of mine regarding just children and, being there for elderly parents. So a lot of you transitioned to my channel off of a platform. You saw a video of me and I mentioned that I have a YouTube channel. And pretty much this is just my way of documenting my process of how to get pregnant. When I first started doing research on how to get pregnant, to be honest with you, I just thought, hey, maybe I'll just go ahead and see with the guy and then do it that way. But then I realized, there's a lot that goes into having to track, ovulation and whatnot. And I wasn't about to be sleeping with a guy multiple times to have a child. I wouldn't have gotten any type of enjoyment out of it while he was getting all the enjoyment. So that wasn't going to happen. So I had to kind of just do some research, figure out what's out there, whatnot. At one point in time, I worked for a health insurance company and I had great benefits. It covered everything. So I went at that point, got tested to see what my ovarian reserve was, to see how many eggs I have left in this body of mine. And I had a nice little number, but as I was getting older, I was going to be losing the amount of eggs I have. So the process had to kind of go on quick. Years passed, no baby. I decided that I was going to go back again, get tested again to see what my reserve was. It was even lower than it was that time. I'm in the doctor's office bawling my eyes out because the thought of not being able to have a child was just really becoming like a reality for me. Now, I've always wanted children. Always wanted children. However, I never knew how I was going to go about getting said children because I didn't want to sleep with a guy to have a child. I didn't. I really didn't. However, I wasn't always a lesbian. So let me put that out there like that. I wasn't always a lesbian. I have had sex with a guy before. And, my first choice in a donor actually was that guy who I have known since I was 14 years old. So, and he's still in my life to this day. So he was my first choice for a donor. I remember when I was younger, I was talking to him about, hey, one day I want to have a kid and, we're going to have a kid together and this child's going to be named this. And then he ended up having a child, a daughter, and he named his daughter the name that we said we were going to name our child. So, yeah, I was like, okay, he had always stayed in my mind. Because, he's one of the closest men that I have in my life that I actually feel like I can trust. So, when I first decided to have to embark on this journey to have a baby, he was the first person. he came and he donated, to me, and it just didn't take. And maybe I just was just doing some things wrong. I don't know. However, it didn't take. Fast forward, my father passed away. When my father passed away, it was now the time for me to basically say, okay, listen, and it's time for me to kind of put this in overdrive. Especially because we had numerous conversations about children, and the fact that I'm the oldest, I didn't have any children, and my siblings, I have a brother and a sister, they do. So he's like, when you gonna have a child? I'm just like, I will. And I kept putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. And then he passed away. So for me, that was a hurt piece, of course, because I'm like, he asked me, I didn't do it, and it wasn't that I wasn't ready to have a baby, because I've always been ready to have one. It's just internalized fear I had. So after a while, I just said, forget about it. I'm just going to go ahead and do it. And maybe secretly in my mind, I didn't know if it was going to take. So, and then the first time it didn't. The donation happened, and it didn't work out for me. However, the second time, I had 2 donations. I had the second one on one date, and then he came back over the next day and did another one. So somewhere rather, within that cycle, I got pregnant. So I'm currently, right now, today, I am 5 months pregnant. I am 19 weeks pregnant. Wednesday, today is Monday, Wednesday, I will be 20 weeks. And then tomorrow, I go for my 20-week ultrasound. So as of yet, I personally do not know what I'm having. My mother and my best friends, they know. However, I don't know. So we're going to have a gender reveal, and then I'm going to find out. But tomorrow is the anatomy ultrasound. So they will put it on at least one of the shots for the ultrasound of what the baby is. Either way, though, I have names picked out. A boy name and a girl name. So either way, I'm kind of okay. And then I also said that if I really, really want a boy, but if I don't get a boy, guess what? That's what adoption's for. That's what, eventually when I find a partner, maybe they may want a child, and we can have more children together. So, yeah. So, I kind of wanted to touch on a topic of just being a stud, because I identify as a stud. I am a lesbian. I'm not a lesbian who thinks that she is a man. I don't want to be addressed as a he, or they, or them. I am a woman biologically. I use she and her pronouns. So it's mighty funny when, I see posts referring to me as, hey, she is having a baby, but don't she want to be called dad? Or people are confused of what my role is going to be in this baby's life that I'm carrying. I will be the mother. I'd be damned if I'm going to push out a baby or have a baby cut out of me, and I'm going to be anything other than that. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's, it's crazy. I would have put my body through 10 months worth of, weight gain, sleepless nights, can't keep down, nausea, all of that to be called a dad. I don't know any dads that go through all of that. Yeah, I don't know. I am fully aware though that there are studs that wish to be called dad and all of those things. However, on an individual basis, I am an individual. I wish not to be called dad. So if I ever see anybody address me in such manner, whether it be on this YouTube, whether it be on my Instagram or my Facebook, then to me, I just consider it to be disrespect. And I'm going to just have to deal with that accordingly. It is what it is. But a conversation that, my friend and I had to deal with, having children, because she's older than me. She considers herself to be a lesbian. She's no longer able to have children. And, she had mentioned that she pretty much won't have anybody there to care for her as she gets older. And that's always something that I kind of thought about as somebody early on who wanted to have children. And what really got me to thinking about this, there was a documentary that is out. I don't know on what platforms, but you definitely can Google, but it's called Gen Silent, Gen Silent. And the documentary pretty much follows elderly LGBTQ persons who are in homes who, when they were in their younger years, they were not able to show their true selves. And as they gotten older, they were able to live this lifestyle openly. And then as they've gotten older, some of them being put back in the closet because of the people that are taking care of them. And it's a shame. Children don't ask to be here. So a child does not ask to be here. Okay? However, and I'll tell you what my mother said to me. So I was basically outed to my parents by my school counselor. I had went to go talk to my school counselor, and I went to a Catholic school at the time, and my school counselor felt like they needed to call home and tell my mother and father that, I guess I was a lesbian. And they knew the news well before I got home. So when I got home, it kind of was just like I was bombarded. And my mother would always say, I don't have any bad genes. Where did I go wrong? I'd rather you be bisexual. Basically anything but identifying as strictly just lesbian. And this went on for a while. And at the time, I hadn't slept with a man. I was in high school. I want to say I was 16 years old. And I had slept with a girl at the age of 11. So I'm thinking to myself, well, maybe, I didn't try to sleep with a guy, maybe. But I had never acted on it at that time. It took me 2 years later for me to actually act on it. So it wasn't until recently that my mother had a conversation, with me and basically say, hey, when you were born, I just had all of these expectations of you. You are my firstborn. You never really know true love until you experience that moment. And here's this little person that's strictly depending upon you to take care of them. So, in her eyes, I was going to grow up, get a great job, get married, have kids, all of these things. And my mother thought that the moment that she found out that I was a lesbian, that I no longer wanted to be married. I no longer wanted to have kids. And none of that was true. We had actually never had a conversation about whether or not I actually wanted to still have a child or get married. Now we fast forward to my adult years. I have been married. I am actually divorced, but I did get married. Fast forward a few years later, here I am pregnant. So just because I identify as a lesbian doesn't mean that your dreams are shattered. They just come in a different package. So it's wrapped a little bit differently than what you thought that it was going to be. Nonetheless, as a parent, you should always just want your child to be happy, because happiness is the key to a healthy life. A happy, healthy life. Because there's so many people around here walking around miserable. You know, we all have a something that we can look at day to day and say, you know what? I'm thankful for that. I'm grateful for that. I woke up today. I'm grateful for the breath that's in my body. Because you know what? At the same time I was breathing and waking up, somebody was taking their last breath. So you kind of have to look at it like that. So, you know, in my case, I despise nursing homes. When I say I despise nursing homes, I despise them. My grandmother was put in a nursing home. My grandmother ended up with bed sores, and she also ended up, with black eyes. Where did she get them from? She didn't get them from the other residents. So then where did she get them from? You know, we all know with bed sores, it's very evident that you get bed sores from not being properly turned over. So it was neglect all the way around. Now, looking at that, you know, and when my grandma passed and the circumstances that surrounded that, I was angry. I'm not going to sit up here and say I wasn't angry. I was angry. And this is because of the simple fact that, you know, here's someone who loves you unconditionally, took care of you, you know, they are not able to defend themselves, and they are here with people who are just here to get a dollar, you know, make their way through the workday and go home. By the posts that I've seen on Instagram and Facebook, which the love has been, you know, exceptional. You know, I don't know if I thought that it would be negative, but for the most part, it's been great. However, there has been negative. You know, there has been Bible thumpers. I mean, you can quote the Bible for anything and everything, and the way that people are living is just not 100% to the T of what the Bible says. But yet, they'll always point out the fact that you're gay as hell, and that's in there. So you know what? You're an abomination. I feel like at the end of the day I have one life to live. I'm going to live my life, and wherever I shall go after I close my eyes, never to wake up again, is between me and God. Nobody else. And it is what it is. And I've always been a firm believer in that. That's why I choose to live my life however I see fit. Because it's my life, you know? But in having a child, I look at it as, no, my child will not have a father. They won't have a father. My parents were married for 38 years. 38 years. Until my father passed away. I know what it's like to have a father there. I can't tell you what it's like to not have one, because I wasn't raised like that. However, because I am not heterosexual, And my donor actually has a life of his own, a family of his own, a partner of his own. The thought of having my child involved in that, it never is never going to happen. However, if he wanted to see, the child, you're more than welcome. And that's a choice in which he has to make. I would never say no, because again, I don't know what it's like to not have a father. And, secretly will the child yearn to know, well, what, why don't I have a dad or anything like that? I mean, of course. But as their mother, it is my job to make sure that they are loved beyond measures, so that and give them a full understanding of what the situation was. You came into this world loved. I wanted you, and I prayed for you. Many days I cried. When I found out that I wasn't pregnant, I cried. And when I say cried, boo hoo. And I'm not even a crier. I'm emotional, but I'm not a crier. And they're bawling my eyes out. Just because I'm actively trying to have a baby, and every single time it's a knockdown, 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 knockdown. And it's back to this conversation that I have with my friend is like, well, I don't want to get put in a nursing home. I don't. I know that by the time I turn 55, my baby will be 15. Okay. I hope to have a long life, but I also know that I can't expect my child at whatever age in their 20s, early 30s, to take care of me. So I am going to prepare for my later on. And what I mean by that is I don't want to go to a nursing home. So whether it be me having to put in a will or putting money aside to pay for private care, something's going to happen, because I'm not going to put that burden on my child. Just because I decided to have a child late, and they're going to be, like I said, in their 20s, early 30s, I don't want to put that on them. But at the same time, you kind of have to fish people out. And the reason why I say that is because if you ever get a chance to watch this documentary, what happens is a lot of people when they're younger, they're drug addicts, they're alcoholics, they're everything up under the sun. And then, gay bashers, whatever. They turn around, they find God, they get clean, and then they condemn others for not doing the same. And how many of us know people like that? If you don't get, I used to be out here in the streets. I used to be partying, but I found God, and then, I see the way. And if you don't get your life right, you're going to go to hell. So imagine having to be in the care of somebody that feels like your whole existence on this earth is an abomination. So I rely on you to get dressed, to feed me, to clean me up, to do everything. And knowing that deep down inside, you don't care for me. That any chance you get, you're going to throw a Bible at me. And I mean, thank God that the children of today, or at least the current generation is more diversified. They have more of an understanding of the LGBTQ community, none like, the decades that came before me. those in their 50s, their 60s, you know, some of 70s, you know, in their times when they grew up, it just was a no. It was a hell no. You're straight, and if you're not straight, then, you know, this is where you're going to go to. You're going to go to hell. So, however, most elderly people are in healthcare. They are CNAs, home health aides, you know, because they're just trying to scrape up some extra money now that they are, you know, retired. So, you know, this is something that, you know, like I said, me and my friend were talking about, just getting the affairs in order. Because again, as being someone who is LGBT, I have to think about that. You know, there's been many of times I've seen, I went to a funeral one time, and there was a girl that I knew who dressed like me, boyish. And then she died. Get up to the casket. I'm like, who is this in the casket? A wig on, a dress. When I tell you I was so mortified for her that you intentionally disrespected her on the day that she's supposed to be memorialized. I had a long time ago, back in 2011, I wrote out my own obituary. My obituary is already written. I put a picture on the front. I said exactly what I wish to have, what I wanted to be dressed in, and with a picture on the front that says, hey, this is what I want to be dressed in. Something similar to this. And I made it known to my mother. And I also put it on Facebook. Some people thought it was morbid. I thought it was my way of saying that these are what my wishes are, and to have it publicly known. Don't put me in no casket and no dress. I don't wear dresses. I've only worn one dress for one of my friends at her wedding. And this was actually exactly 5 years ago. Was I fine as hell? I was fine as hell, y'all. However, that's not a choice that I wish to choose every single day. No, it's just not. But I feel like it's not up to people to judge. And if you know, it is your job to educate yourself on the issues that affect the world. And LGBT issues are exactly that. Because you don't know who you're going to interact with. You have people who are discreetly gay or discreetly lesbian, who for fear of, you know, being just excluded from everything, they decide not to tell you. Could be your own child. Because they see how you treat the next person. So why would I tell you how I am, mom or dad? Because I see how you treat X, Y, and Z. Horribly. And if you are left to take care of me, I'm really not going to tell you, for fear that you're going to kick me out and make my life a living hell for the however many remainder of years I have to live in this damn house. So, yeah, it's crazy. But I'm going to end this video. It's getting a little long. But I just kind of, you know, just some things that was just bothering me. And, you know, I feel like it should be some new times out here. We're living in 2022. How many of us would thought that we would ever make it to 2022? So now that we are, it's up to us to make changes and to be, you know, well-rounded people. Because, you know, there are so many people out here in the world, you know? But hope everybody's been great, and I hope y'all have a good day.